Odonga Otto came out to mock the Anita Among and Thomas Tayebwa for betraying the cause. One of the greatest problems of our country is always been those people who are looked at as the elites. Even when we are being colonized, the elites were normally used. Here in Uganda, they used Apollo Kagwa so that the kingdom of Uganda could be colonized. So Odonga Otto came out to mock Thomas Tayebwa and Anita Among for betraying their cause. And I think he was right.
This government must change. This government must change. This is a useless government. Those were the words of Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Thomas Tayebwa. We were in a meeting, Dr. Kiza Besije, Honorable Anita Among, who is now the Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Tayebwa Thomas, who is the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, and myself, Honorable ODONGA OTTO, who were in planning meetings at midnight on how to change government. I even flew up to South Africa. I was in the team to persuade Besige to come back to run. But now today, Tayebwa is the one shouting loudest, this government must stay. Besige is in prison 2 years. For me, I'm still running independent as a member of parliament, independent ticket. This world of ours, this world is not my own. I'm just a passerby. My friend, human beings, politicians. I don't know whether we should say adaptability is the key to political longevity, or we should say, if you are principled, you will be buried by principled men, though poor. This world, this world. Merry Christmas, Dr. Kiza Besige, Luzera Prison. Merry Christmas, the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, a very magnanimous woman. Merry Christmas, Honorable Tayebwa. And Merry Christmas to me and to all of you.
That is Odonga Otto, although he talked about it in a sarcastic manner. But I've realized that in history, revolutions are not caused by those who appear to be elites and a lot of books. I feel bad that Kiza Besige nurtured Anita Among and Thomas Tayebwa, but they are doing little to see that is let free. Some of the time, even if you change a political post, since you're in the system, try to devise means of releasing the father in your political journey. It's the reason why you even look at back in 1980 Bush War, the people who were on the forefront to bring change were those who were looked at as the nobodies. The LS like Semoge ended up joining Obote's government. So I keep on telling people that if we really need change, the people should be on the forefront. Leaders can be bought off the way Anita Among and Thomas Tayebwa changed. So the purpose of this video, I've come to dissect Odonga Otto's statements, what it means for our country, and most importantly, the certain materials we can learn from the politics of our nation. But before I do this, I want to let you know, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. And if you're watching this video from a different platform, please head on to YouTube, type in Sula Mawagali. There's a lot of content of this nature. If geopolitics and economics is what you want, this will be definitely the right channel for you to subscribe to. I've realized that God has given signs to the opposition to act. Do you know that for a long period of time, all speakers of parliament, both the speaker and the deputy, ever since Genome 7, I think, became speaker, have always come from the opposition. Kadaga was DP. Sekandi was DP. Okay? Jacob Bolanya was, I think, UPC. Yes. Anita Among, FDC. Tayebwa, FDC. God gives you those places so that he can remind you where you came from. Some of the time, if you come from the opposition, if you enter government, many chances show that the status quo remain the same. At least use that leverage not to fight your boss because you finally joined the system, but to make it a better place. I felt like crying when Thomas Tayebwa came out to say that the reason as to why Besige is in prison is because he's not collaborating with his lawyer. I felt like crying. I FDC youth leader, who's sitting at who's number 6 in the order of precedent, coming out to say this statement when the person is rotting in jail, when even the file is being added on more people, it shows you that the system has some sinister motive against Dr. Kizza Besigye. I felt like crying. These people should understand that God gives signs to different people. They are given signs, they are given seats they can sit on, but they fail. They should learn that those seats that they are sitting on right now, people have ever sat on them, some are still alive. Okay? So it's better to act for a country, because where we are going right now, the transition, if you don't handle it very well, it's going to be messy and crazy, and it's going to have a lot of casualties. The first casualties will be those in the system. ODONGA OTTO coming out to speak like this. My problem with ODONGA OTTO is one, he speaks at both ends of his mouth. When he's campaigning, he tells his electorates not to vote for change and to support General Kaguta Museveni. When he comes out to speak, he speaks as if he doesn't want NRM. That is the problem. I would have played you the tape of him speaking in his mother tongue. I got a tape translated, and he was telling his electorate that they shouldn't support NUP, they should vote for Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Yet on the other hand, he has a video saying that NRM has no gains to protect. In fact, he said this.
Hello, my name is ODONGA OTTO. I am a political philosopher. I am a political scientist. I am a lawyer. I want to analyze protecting the gains. Protecting the gains. Which gains are there to protect? And can it only be a few people to protect the gains? Please pay a little bit attention. There are 7 aspects which I would call the NRM achievements that I need as a political scientist to bring it into proportion. 1, roads. In 1986, there was 1,000 kilometers of tarmac roads. According to the government statistics, in 2025, there are 6,800 kilometers of tarmac roads. 6,800 is just 1,200 kilometers less to London. That means the roads tarmacked now in Uganda is almost from here to London. Actually, from here to Frankfurt. Is that a gain? The second thing, FM stations. In 1986, there was Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, and Radio Uganda. There was one radio station, middle wave, short wave, blue wave. I've checked from the Uganda communication statistics. As of today, there are 309 licensed FM stations in Uganda. You can tune at leisure. 3, by the time Obote 1 was in power, they constructed hospitals, 17 hospitals across Uganda. Kigomba, Itojo, Iganga, Anaka, 17 hospitals. Mulago National Referral Hospital, of course, which began at the post-colonial era. But currently, there are 6,937 health centers. 6,937 health centers across the country. Health Center 3, Health Center 4. So is this a gain to protect? Can this gain be protected only by President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni? 4 schools. In Obote 1 and Obote 2 and post-independence time, there were the traditional schools. In Tare, Komboni College, Kabalega College, Umbachi College, Imwiri. These were the traditional schools. And most of the educational sector was run by the missionaries in the country. St. Mary's, Itobero, Sacred Heart School, Mill Hill Fathers. But currently, there are 30,000 primary schools. And there are 6,000 secondary schools, both private and government. Is this a gain worth protecting? And petrol stations. When we were growing up, there was only Shell petrol station. Today, even if you are stopping at Total and you are in a public taxi, they will still say, Kushele or no. But now today, Shell petrol station has 170 pump stations. Total has 200 petrol stations across the country. I'm not even counting the other small companies, Energy, Africa, there are thousands. Is this a gain? Is it worth protecting? Liberalization of the economy. When we were going to primary one in 1984, we would buy a Colgate toothpaste. The tube was metallic. You have to squeeze gently from down to up. And when the Colgate is getting over, you would even open and put a toothbrush inside to get the toothpaste out of that metal. There was only Colgate. The economy has been liberalized. Now you have close-up, close-in, dent, what? Accessibility to services. Those days, the fashion industry, there were trousers of Carrera, Stayaway, Martellos. But today, because the economy is liberalized, you walk in any shop and say, I need this evening in Paris. The economy has been liberalized and goods and services are close to people. FDI, foreign direct investment. Uganda as a country has attracted the biggest number of foreign direct investment in East and Central Africa. I'm not saying East Africa. I am saying in East and Central Africa. Uganda as a country, as of 2025, we have attracted 3.3 billion US dollars of foreign direct investment. Some of you may be saying, what animal is this? These are foreigners bringing their capital into Uganda. 3.3 billion US dollars. You can check this from the World Bank website. And yet our budget as a country is 45 trillion US dollars. 45 trillion shillings, I mean. So the foreign direct investment is 75 times more than the budget of the government of Uganda, more than the money collected from your taxes. These are things that have to be on record. So the $1 million question is, if Bobby Wine becomes the president, is he going to come to destroy these health centers? Is he going to come and start excavating and removing the tarmac roads? The philosophical question is, can these gains only be protected if President Museveni is the president? The question still in political science is it a gain? Yes, it is a gain. Actually, you must be a mad person if you say all these things which I have adumbrated emphatically is not a gain. It is a gain. Of course, the philosophical question would be, probably the gain would be more if we had different presidents. Yes, it's true. So the question is, what are the things which are absolutely wrong under President Museveni's regime? Of course, there are things, and I need to be fair and speak of them. One is corruption. Corruption is institutionalized in Uganda. Nothing can happen in government offices without money. To arrest a person, you pay police. To release a person, you pay police. Traffic police, they are collecting bribes with a clean conscience. People even speak vernacular in government offices. The level of corruption is incredible. Man eateth where he worketh, and worketh most where he eateth. Actually, as a philosopher, I predict in the next 20 years, we are even going to produce children with genes of corruption inborn, given the nature of corruption under the NRM government. Still, we have to ask this question. These FM stations, these petrol stations, are they the achievements of President Museveni alone? Is it not happening in Kenya? Is it happening in Tanzania? Are they not products of globalization and liberalization of the world? Can it be tied to a particular regime? The second flaw of this government is nepotism, cronism. Actually, the level of ethnic consciousness in Uganda has increased. People prefer to identify themselves more as an Acholi. Another one prefers to identify themselves as a Muganda. Another one prefers to identify themselves as a Munyankole. So the level of ethnic consciousness and tribalism has reached unprecedented levels. This can even be seen in weddings every weekend. People are marrying their fellow tribesmen. The bondage, the fusion, the ethnic fusion, and the cross-pollination, which was programmed by the Obote One government, is not working. My father studied in Fort Portal, St. Leo's. There are people from Barra who were taken to Sir Samuel Becker. There are people from Iganga who were taken to Ombachi. So cross-pollination and ethnic fusion is not there. We are now having more tribal and ethnic social distance under the current regime. And the thing which you can cut my hand on a market day without anesthesia, which I have engaged President Museveni on a one-to-one discussion, philosophical and political science, is foreigners milking the country. Well, it's good. Foreign direct investment is $3.3 billion. But how much money is being siphoned out of Uganda? President Museveni believes that when we bring foreigners, they employ Ugandans. So the unemployed youth would get what to do. Well, that's a good argument. But on my side, I am still raising the argument. Why is it that in countries like Egypt, you cannot take money out of Egypt? Make it and let the money stay here. The level of capital flight under this NRM regime is unprecedented. The money being taken out by Stanbic Bank, a South African company, by MTN, a South African company, by sports betting. The government is doing nothing. Ugandans are poor and the foreigners are milking the country. There are no controls. This one, I totally disagree with the NRM government. But be it as may, are there gains to protect? Yes. Actually, I still insist. You must be mad to say there is no gain. But the question is, who should protect the gain? Now the answer comes back to political science. There is a constituency called the military, which in Ugandan history has been totally destroyed 3 times. In 1979, the military was totally destroyed when Tanzania was invading Uganda. The people ran out of the barracks, abandoned the uniform, and went back home. We received them. The same happened in 1985 partially, and the same happened in 1986. Total destruction of the military. Now, the military in every country has to be preserved to protect those gains. It is if you go to burn the petrol station, you're going to get shot. If you go to burn a health center, someone must put you to order. So the institutions that protect the gain, like the military and the police, are they ready for change? This debate has to be answered. In my opinion, I don't think the UPDF is subject to the civilian authority the way it is predicted in the Constitution. The UPDF now has become the authority, and yet the law, I think under Article 215, says they should be subject to the Constitution. So, what is my take on the 2026 elections? Of course, there are gains to protect. There are things as Ugandans we should not accept to be destroyed. No one should ban health centers. No one should ban the petrol station. No one should ban the banks. No one should mobilize the public. That is not patriotic. That is subversive. That is treasonable. But the question is, what do we do in 2026? In my honest opinion, what is happening in 2026 is not an election. It is a selection. It's going to be a selection. It's not an election. 2, Ugandans, the elite Ugandans are not ready for change. They are not ready for change. Some of them are watching with disdain that the next president of Uganda, for crying out loud, cannot be Bobi Wine. So, many people have resorted to support what is convenient and not what is right. And my honest and final take is that the gains have to be protected. But the question that we have to come to is by who, when, and using what means, and for how long. Thank you.
That is Odongo Otto. So that's the problem with elite. That's the problem of those who we look at as people who have a lot of books. Odongo Otto is one of the brilliant minds, one of the people who have ever gotten a chance to represent people at a very young age. I look at members of parliament here who are young. Odongo Otto was one of the first people to represent people in parliament in his 20s for 20 years. That cannot be found anywhere. And is also not sure where he stands. Okay? So, Odongo Otto's statements, most especially mocking the Speaker of Parliament and Thomas Tayebwa, they have salt in them, and we must understand where the country is. We must understand that the elites can easily be bought off. It's the people to stand firm. So, the Odongo statements must be analyzed and taken seriously, because we should understand that people should be on the forefront to fight for their democracy, but to fight for what they want. Of course, that's my opinion. Remain yours truly, Mr. Makindi. Kabiye Sulaiman Mawagali. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe, like, and comment so that I can be motivated to do more of such videos. I'll see you on another one. Peace.